Hello, this is Danny from CG Dreams, and in this very quick and short video I'm going to show you how you can take an animation that in this particular case walks, and it walks off the screen. In other words, this particular animation is not a walk in place. I'm going to show you how you can get an animation that walks off the screen to be a walk in place. Now this particular animation is from Mixamo, and often is the case that you can actually find a walk in place or a run in place or motion on Mixamo itself. You also have some control in the right hand panel of Mixamo, so look out for that, as you might have the option in there to have the animation walk in place. Now I'm not going to go through the reasons why you might want to have a walk in place or not, but the fact is this particular animation is not a walk in place. It actually walks on a particular axis, like Z, the Y, or not the Y, but the X. As you can see there, it's walking along the Z, the negative Z, and I want to get rid of that. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to identify what it is you need to get rid of. In other words, the keyframes. And primarily you'll find that what's been animated to move your character is the root joint. In this particular case it would be like the hip. You'll know this when you look at the hierarchical structure of the rig. When you look up here, you can see here that the first bone or joint that you can see here is actually the hips, and it's actually the hips which is moving the character through its motion. So this is the first step to identify what joints are actually moving the rig through space within the scene. So we've identified it is the root joint, which is the hip. The next thing is what direction is it moving in? Is it moving in many directions? It could be actually moving in X, Y or Z. It'd be moving in the X or the Z primarily, but it may be moving in the Y if the characters may be going up a hill or up some steps. So in this particular case the character's not moving up in the Y, it's moving on the negative X. Now you know that it's moving on the negative X because this blue handle that you can see I'm highlighting here and the blue widget that's inside the scene here is clearly showing you that this is the Z axis. As you'll see at the bottom left hand side, this gizmo here is showing it's on the Z axis. This helps you identify now the direction in which the character is moving. This doesn't mean that it's necessarily not moving at all in the X, but you can generally tell whether that's the case when you go into the animation screen. So what we do is we're going to go into the animation viewport. We go up to the top right where it says layout and we go to animate, and inside the animate you've got all of these keyframes. Now I've gone into the F curve mode. It may be by default here, but I'm going to the F curve mode there. This is where I prefer to see this, and we've already identified what joint it is that's moving through space, and that is the hips. So if you select the hips, you'll see all of the F curves for the keys that are associated with the hips. When we expand this, we can see that there is position keys, rotation keys. So we've already identified that the Y key doesn't really need to be deleted because this is not moving the character through space. It's allowing the hips to move up and down as the character's walking. So we don't need to be messing around with this. We do need, however, to be looking at the X position and the Z position. As you can clearly see that there's both keys for both of these. If you select both of these, you'll now see both of them simultaneously, and these are the keys that are responsible for the character moving through the screen space. So what we want to do is we want to remove these. Now if you go to this little tiny button here, you can actually disable these keys, and by disabling them you can clearly see that this is what's responsible. This is ideal for determining exactly what keys are actually doing that particular movement before you go ahead and delete them. So now I've deselected these so they're not actually doing what we want to delete, I can re-enable these again and we can simply just delete them. Notice I've got the position X and the position Z selected, and all I need to do is just go to the edit menu and just select all of them. So you go to selection, select all. Now I'm assuming that when you go in there it's going to look like this with no key selected, so that's why I've taken you through this step. So you go select, selection, and select all. Now you've done that, you can simply hit the delete key, and now those keys are gone. So when you play it back, you can see the character is now walking on the spot. This now frees up the position for the Z and the X to be manually keyed, or indeed you may want to use a line to spline to have the character walk on a particular path. Things can get a little bit more trickier when you've got a character which is moving over rocks or off the floor, i.e. up a slope or some steps. In that particular case you're going to have the keys mixed on your y-axis, so that'd be a little bit more trickier to remove because you actually have got the bobbing of the character naturally. As you can see there's a slight up and down movement with the character's hips, and you'll find that those hips will also have these keys on there for moving up, say a slope or some steps. But you'll clearly see with these keys that you'll have a diagonal slope to those particular keys where it's moving up, whereas little bobs up and down you can clearly see look very linear in fashion there, almost linear anyway. So I hope that helps. Anyway, this is how you are to remove keys from a motion based animation within Cinema 4D into a in place animation.